You know, a late night pizza delivery. It's got to be one of the most normal, everyday things, right? It's just simple. But what if it's not? Behind that warm cardboard box, sometimes there are some seriously unexpected and pretty terrifying dangers. I mean, we've all done it a million times. You're hungry, you place an order. A driver shows up at your door, you hand over some cash, get your food, maybe give them a little tip, and boom, they're gone. It's this super routine thing that happens all over the country every single day. Simple, totally predictable, and, you'd think, pretty safe. But that's where things can get scary. What happens when the person on the other side of that door wants a whole lot more than just the pizza you're holding? That is the chilling question we're going to dive into today. We're looking at 3 true stories from delivery drivers, where a totally normal job just completely spiraled into an absolute nightmare. We're talking deceptions, psychological traps, and just straight-up violence. Okay, so before we get into the really scary stuff, let's just set the scene. You gotta understand the routine. For most of these drivers, the job is, well, it's a job. It's pretty repetitive, but it's a straightforward way to make some cash. The rhythm of this job is almost like being on autopilot. One driver basically said it's the same loop, just over and over and over. You take the order, you box up the food, you stick it in the delivery bag, you drive to the address, you get a tip. Rinse and repeat. For them, nothing weird had ever happened. It was just boring, you know? And what's the reward for all this? Well, the stakes are usually pretty low. We're talking a small tip, maybe $3 to $5 a trip. That's it. The whole job is built on doing dozens and dozens of these little uneventful runs. Until one of them isn't uneventful at all. All right, let's get into our first story. This one involves a 17-year-old driver who gets pulled into a situation that just felt, well, it felt way too good to be true. And you know what they say about that, right? It's because it was.
Okay, so the warning signs here just kept piling up, one after another. First off, the drive was unusually long, like 15 minutes. Then, when he gets there, a woman from the house next door yells out saying the pizza's for her. Weird. So he goes to the right house, and 2 older women answer, and they're being super flirtatious, inviting him inside for wine. And then comes the strangest request you could possibly imagine. They ask him if he wants to see a secret down in the basement.
So he's hesitant, but he starts heading down these dark basement stairs. He asks, "Hey, where's the light switch?" And one of the women just says, "Leave the lights off." Chills, right? I mean, that's the exact moment his feeling of unease just turns into pure, genuine fear. The whole flirty, playful vibe is gone, and it's replaced by something way, way more sinister. And yep, his gut feeling was spot on. As he's peering down into that pitch-black basement, he's pretty sure he sees something move. It looked like a person's arm, or maybe a hand, and that's when it hits him. He's not alone with these 2 women. He is absolutely being led into a trap, and someone else is down there waiting for him. So he's like, nope, not happening. He turns around, forgets the whole basement idea, and just tries to get paid for the pizza so we can get the heck out of there. But that's when this massive, towering guy just appears in a doorway. And the 5 words he says, they confirmed everything the driver was fearing. Let's just make this easy. The kid just bolts. He fled, left the pizza, and just escaped whatever horrible thing they had planned for him in that house. Now, our second story. This one is a different kind of creepy. The threat here isn't so direct. It's more of a psychological ambush, a trap that's designed to play on a driver's sense of, just wanting to do the right thing. Seriously, just try to picture this for a second. You pull up to a house, it's at the end of a dead-end street, and it's completely dark. No lights on anywhere. The front door is already cracked open, and from inside, you hear this really creepy, simple piano song just playing on a loop, over and over again. Every single detail about this is just unsettling. So the driver yells into the dark house, and suddenly, the piano just stops. Then, a man's voice calls out, "Sorry, I have trouble walking. Could you just bring it in here, please?" And see, that's the trap. It's a direct appeal to the driver's good nature. It leaves him totally torn between his gut, which is screaming, "Get out of here," and the idea that, hey, maybe it's just an old guy who actually needs some help. Thankfully, the driver listened to his gut. He feels super suspicious, so he just peeks around a corner into the dining room where he heard the voice. He sees the piano, but there's nobody there. He just quietly backs out, gets in his car, and leaves. But here's the real kicker. Later that night, he looks up the address, and the truth? It was way more chilling than he could have imagined. That house had been foreclosed on months ago. It was supposed to be completely empty. All right, for our last story, we're done with the mind games and hidden threats. This one is immediate, it's violent, and it is absolutely life-threatening. This all went down on the bad side of town. There's no lure, no creepy music, no games. The driver rings the bell for a pretty big order, like $70. The door flies open almost instantly, and he's just staring down the barrel of a pistol. A guy is holding it, pointing it right at him. And in a split second, two other guys appear out of nowhere and grab him. The guy with the gun speaks in broken English, and his command is just as raw and terrifying as you could imagine. Give me all of your stuff. That's it. There's no room to negotiate, absolutely no chance to run. The driver is just completely at their mercy. So they take everything, his wallet, his phone, they even rip the watch right off his wrist. But then the robbery takes this deeply personal and absolutely terrifying turn. One of the guys pulls his ID out of his wallet and reads his home address out loud. And that's what made this so unbelievably scarring. They didn't just rob him. They threatened to come to his house and kill his entire family if he ever told anyone what happened. Think about that. They turned a random mugging into this lingering personal threat against the people he loves the most in the world. So, okay, what can we actually learn from these horrifying stories? The aftermath of what happened gives us some really crucial lessons about just being aware of your surroundings and, frankly, about survival. Well, the driver who got robbed at gunpoint, he was terrified, but his family pushed him to report it. Turns out his dad had some police connections, and they ended up raiding the house. They made 2 arrests, and one of those guys actually got a life sentence. But the third man, he was never found. He just got away. You know, when you look at all 3 of these stories, each one has a really important lesson. The first one, the deceptive trap, it's all about trusting your gut instinct. If something feels off, it probably is. The second one, the psychological ambush, that shows you why it's so important to check out weird situations from a safe distance. And the third one, the armed robbery, that's a brutal reminder that your personal safety is always, always more important than your wallet or your phone. And you have to remember, the impact of something like this lasts a long, long time. The driver who was robbed, he admits that even now, he sometimes wakes up in the middle of the night thinking he hears footsteps outside. He's paranoid that the one guy who got away might come back to make good on that threat. The fear doesn't just stop when you escape. It stays with you. And all of this leaves us with one last, pretty sobering question. For the people who bring us our food, the ones who do these simple, everyday jobs, we probably don't think much about the risks they're taking every single time they knock on a stranger's door. It really makes you wonder, at what point does a simple job just stop being worth the risk?